The grand banquet hall shimmered with lights from floating orbs, casting an ethereal glow over the gathering of alien dignitaries and humans. This was a historic moment. For the first time, humanity had been invited to the Galactic Council's annual feast, a celebration where alliances were forged and treaties solidified. The humans, relatively new to intergalactic diplomacy, were honored to be there. Or so they thought. Unbeknownst to them, a darker plan was in motion. Several alien factions viewed humans as a nuisance too ambitious, too unpredictable. To put them in their place, a plan had been hatched. The wine, served exclusively to the human delegation, had been laced with a potent neurotoxin. This toxin wasn't lethal, but was designed to render its victims weak, confused, and unable to resist interrogation. The aliens believed this would expose humanity's secrets and confirm their inferiority. Captain Elena Ford, leader of Earth's delegation, raised her glass with a confident smile. She was dressed in formal attire that blended Earth's traditions with futuristic elegance. To unity among the stars, she toasted, her voice carrying the weight of hope and determination. The aliens exchanged sly glances, their amusement barely hidden as the humans sipped their wine. They waited, watching for signs of dizziness or slurred speech. Humans, after all, were fragile creatures compared to the advanced species of the galaxy. But as the minutes passed, nothing happened. The humans continued drinking, chatting animatedly about Earth's culture, science, and aspirations for peace. Their laughter filled the hall, a sound that seemed out of place amidst the tense silence of their alien hosts. One alien, a sharp-faced representative of the Krellin Empire, leaned toward his colleague and whispered, "Why aren't they collapsing? The dosage should have been more than enough." The other alien frowned, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "Perhaps their biology is more resistant than we calculated." The truth was far simpler. The humans were no strangers to strong drinks. Back on Earth, they had centuries of practice with substances far more potent than what the aliens had spiked their wine with. The toxin, meant to incapacitate them, was barely a tickle to their well-conditioned bodies. Elena noticed the subtle glances being exchanged among the aliens. She wasn't Navi. Years of military service had taught her to read a room. Something was off. Her instincts told her they were being watched too closely, and the overly gracious hospitality didn't sit right. She set her glass down and leaned toward Dr. Amir Patel, the team's lead scientist. "Something's wrong here," she murmured, keeping her smile intact for appearances. Patel nodded subtly. "I've been feeling it too. They're expecting something to happen. Stay alert." Across the table, an alien dignitary stood, raising his glass for a toast. His voice was smooth but carried an edge of mockery. "To our new friends from Earth. May their journey among the stars be enlightening." The humans raised their glasses in response, though Elena's grip tightened slightly. She took a sip but didn't drink deeply, her mind racing. As the evening progressed, the aliens grew increasingly uneasy. The humans showed no signs of weakness. If anything, they appeared more lively, their conversations sharper and more engaging. One alien, unable to contain his frustration, approached Elena directly. He was tall, his pale skin glowing faintly under the banquet lights. "Captain Ford," he said, his voice strained, "how are you finding the wine? It is a rare delicacy from our homeworld, reserved for only the most honored guests." Elena met his gaze, her smile polite but her eyes piercing. "It's lovely," she replied, "though I must admit it's a bit light for my taste. Back on Earth, our wines have a bit more kick." The alien's expression faltered for a moment before he quickly recovered. "I see. How interesting." Behind her, Patel subtly activated a handheld scanner under the table. He had taken a small sample of the wine earlier and was now analyzing it. The results flashed on his device, confirming their suspicions. The wine was indeed spiked, and the toxin was designed to suppress neural activity. Patel leaned over to whisper to Elena, "It's poisoned. Not lethal, but definitely meant to mess with us." Elena's jaw tightened, but she kept her composure. "Understood," she whispered back. "Let's play along for now." The humans continued to act as if nothing was amiss, their behavior unnerving the aliens further. The Krellin representative, who had orchestrated the poisoning, excused himself from the table and slipped into a side room. He activated a holographic communicator, his voice filled with panic. The humans aren't reacting. What went wrong? A shadowy figure on the other end of the line hissed in anger. If they've detected the toxin, this could backfire. Do not let them suspect us further. Back at the table, Elena decided it was time to turn the tables. She stood, raising her glass once more. "Friends," she began, her voice commanding attention. "Tonight, we celebrate unity. But unity cannot exist without trust." Her words hung in the air, and the aliens shifted uncomfortably. "I propose a gesture of goodwill," she continued, her tone light but firm. "A shared toast, your finest wine for everyone at this table. After all, what better way to solidify our bond?" The aliens froze. If they refused, it would raise suspicion. If they accepted, they would be drinking their own poison. The Krellin representative returned just in time to hear the proposal, his face pale. Elena's gaze locked onto his, her smile unyielding. "What do you say?" Caught in their own trap, the aliens had no choice. Glasses were filled, and as the toast was made, the humans watched as their hosts reluctantly drank. By the end of the night, the aliens were sweating, both from the toxin now coursing through their veins and the realization that their plan had failed spectacularly. The humans, meanwhile, left the banquet with their heads held high, their resilience and wit leaving a lasting impression on the galaxy. And the Krellin? They learned an important lesson that night: never underestimate humanity. The Grand Negotiation Chamber of the Galactic Council was alive with tension. Representatives from dozens of alien species had gathered to witness an important moment. Humanity, the newest player on the galactic stage, had been invited to a peace treaty negotiation with the mighty Exarvon Empire, a race known for their cunning and ruthlessness. It was a rare chance for Earth to prove its worth, but few believed the humans could hold their ground against the manipulative Zervons. Captain Marcus Hale, the leader of the human delegation, sat at the long crystalline table, his expression calm but alert. Beside him were Dr. Leela Moreno, a sharp-tongued diplomat, and Commander Ethan Cross, a soldier with nerves of steel. They knew they were walking into dangerous territory, but the stakes were too high to back down. The Exarvons, led by their ambassador, Vrylok, had a plan. Humans were a young and ambitious species, but the Exarvons saw them as naive. To secure their upper hand in the treaty, they had arranged for a special drink to be served, a rare Exarvon wine laced with a powerful drug. It was designed to lower the humans' inhibitions, cloud their judgment, and make them more agreeable to Exarvon demands. The wine, a deep golden liquid, was poured into crystal goblets by silent attendants. Vrylok raised his glass, his reptilian face curving into a sinister smile. "To peace and prosperity," he said, his voice smooth and calculated. Marcus and his team exchanged glances. The humans had been briefed about the Exarvons' reputation for dirty tricks. Still, they couldn't afford to show any hesitation. Marcus raised his glass and smiled back. "To peace," he said, clinking his glass with Vrylok's. The humans drank. The Exarvons watched. For a few moments, nothing happened. Then, something unexpected began to unfold. Instead of becoming sluggish or confused, the humans became sharper, more energetic. Commander Cross leaned back in his chair, grinning as if he were completely at ease. Dr. Moreno's eyes sparkled with newfound confidence, and her arguments became even more precise and convincing. Captain Marcus, already a skilled negotiator, seemed to radiate authority as he countered Vrylok's every point with ease. The Exarvons exchanged worried glances. The drug should have taken effect by now, but the humans were performing better than ever. What the Exarvons didn't realize was that their drug, designed to dull senses and weaken resolve, had reacted strangely with human biology. Instead of suppressing their minds, it acted like a stimulant, boosting their energy and focus. As the negotiations continued, Marcus leaned forward, his voice firm. "Ambassador Vrylok, your proposal is one-sided. If you truly value peace, you'll agree to equal trade terms. Otherwise, this treaty is meaningless." Vrylok hissed, his composure cracking for the first time. "Captain Hale, you misunderstand our generosity. These terms are more than fair. Dr. Moreno smirked. Generosity? Let's call it what it is, a trap. You think we don't see it? Humans aren't as simple as you believe. The other alien representatives watched in amazement. They had expected the humans to crumble under Zarvan pressure, but instead, they were dominating the negotiations. Vrelok's frustration grew. He gestured to the attendants for more wine, hoping a higher dose of the drug might have the desired effect. The humans accepted the refill without hesitation, raising their glasses again. Commander Cross chuckled. This is pretty good stuff. Do you have anything stronger? Back on Earth, we have drinks that could knock out a rhino. Vrylok froze, his eyes narrowing. Was this a bluff? Or were humans really as resilient as they seemed? As the humans continued to drink and argue their case with unwavering confidence, Vrylok realized his plan was falling apart. The other alien leaders, who had initially sided with the Exarvons, began to shift their opinions. They saw the humans not as weak newcomers, but as a force to be reckoned with. Finally, after hours of back and forth, Vrylok slammed his clawed hand on the table. Enough! The Exarvon Empire will reconsider its terms. Marcus smiled, leaning back in his chair. I'm glad to hear that. We look forward to working together fairly. The room erupted in murmurs. The humans had done what no one thought possible. They had outmaneuvered the Exarvons in their own game. As the session adjourned, the human delegation stepped outside the chamber, the cool air refreshing after the heated discussions. Dr. Moreno laughed. Did you see their faces? I thought Vrylok was going to explode. Commander Cross grinned. I told you we could handle it. They underestimated us. Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. They'll think twice before trying something like that again. But we can't get complacent. This was just the first battle. Back in the chamber, Vrylok sat in silence, staring at the empty wine glasses. His plan had failed spectacularly, and now the Exarvon's reputation was at stake. One thought echoed in his mind: never underestimate humanity. The humans returned to their ship. They knew this victory was more than just a treaty. It was a statement to the galaxy, a message that humanity was here to stay, and they wouldn't go down easily. The planet Veltraxis 9 was a sight to behold, a lush, alien paradise filled with glowing trees, rivers that shimmered like liquid silver, and a sky painted in hues of gold and violet. But beneath its beauty lay danger. For centuries, Veltraxis 9 had been used by the Galactic Council as a testing ground for new species. The Council's unspoken rule was simple: if a species couldn't survive here, they weren't ready for the harsh realities of interstellar politics. Humans, the latest addition to the galactic stage, had been invited to a celebration on Veltraxis 9. Officially, it was a gesture of friendship. Unofficially, it was a deadly test. Captain Sarah Grant led the human delegation, accompanied by her small team Dr. Alex Hayes, a brilliant biologist, and Lieutenant Jason Ward, a seasoned soldier. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. As they stepped off their shuttle onto the soft, glowing grass of Veltraxis 9, the alien hosts greeted them warmly. Their leader, a tall insectoid creature named Xalvok, extended a many-jointed arm in welcome. Humans, it is an honor to have you here. Tonight, we feast in your honor. Sarah nodded, her sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. Something about Xalvok's tone unsettled her, but she hid her suspicion. We're grateful for your hospitality, she said, forcing a polite smile. That evening, a grand banquet was held under the open sky. Alien delegates from various species sat around a long table, while plates of exotic food and goblets of shimmering liquid were served. The humans ate cautiously, knowing alien food could be risky. But the drink and amber-colored nectar seemed safe enough. To humanity, Xalvok toasted, raising his goblet high. The humans raised theirs in return and drank. The aliens watched them closely, their eyes gleaming with a mix of curiosity and malice. At tea first, nothing happened. The humans continued to converse, asking questions about Veltraxis 9 and the Council's history. But then, a strange sensation began to creep over them. Sarah felt her heart racing, her vision blurring slightly. Jason's hands trembled, and Alex wiped sweat from his brow. What's happening? Sarah whispered, trying to keep her composure. Alex quickly analyzed a drop of the nectar with his portable scanner. His face paled as he read the results. "It's poisoned," he muttered. "A neurotoxin. Not lethal, but it's designed to weaken us." Jason clenched his fists. "They're testing us. They want to see if we'll crumble." Sarah's jaw tightened. She glanced around the table, noticing the faint smirks on the aliens' faces. They were waiting for the humans to collapse, to beg for help. But Sarah refused to give them the satisfaction. "Drink water," she whispered to her team. "Stay calm. We can't let them see us struggle." The humans sipped from their water flasks and forced themselves to appear unaffected, even as the toxin took its toll. Sweat dripped down their faces and their muscles ached, but they kept talking, laughing, and pretending everything was fine. Hours passed and the aliens grew restless. Zalvok leaned toward one of his advisors, clicking his mandibles in frustration. Why aren't they failing? The dose was enough to incapacitate a trillion warlord. The advisor shrugged. Perhaps their biology is more adaptable than we thought. As the banquet ended, Exalvok announced the next part of the celebration. The humans were to spend the night in the wilds of Veltraxis 9, a tradition meant to honor guests. In reality, it was another layer of the test. The wilderness was teeming with deadly creatures, toxic plants, and unpredictable weather. Most species barely lasted a few hours. The humans were escorted to a clearing and left alone. Sarah immediately took charge. "Set up a perimeter," she ordered. "Alex, scan the area for threats. Jason, keep watch." Despite the poison in their systems, they worked quickly and efficiently. Alex identified several nearby plants with medicinal properties and used them to create an antidote for the toxin. Jason rigged traps around the camp to ward off predators, while Sarah mapped out escape routes. As the night deepened, the jungle came alive with eerie sounds. Glowing predators prowled the edges of their camp, their eyes reflecting the humans' small fire. At one point, a massive insect-like creature lunged toward them, but Jason's traps held, and the creature retreated with a screech. By dawn, the humans were exhausted but alive. They'd endured the poison wine, the alien jungle, and the constant sense of being watched. When Exalvok and his entourage arrived, they expected to find broken, desperate survivors. Instead, they found Sarah and her team standing tall, their camp orderly and secure. Zalvok's mandibles twitched in disbelief. "You survived the night?" Sarah's lips curved into a small, defiant smile. "Of course. Is that surprising?" The other aliens murmured among themselves, clearly impressed. Few species had ever passed the Veltraxis 9 test, and none with such composure. Zalvok tried to mask his frustration with a forced smile. "Impressive, Captain. Truly impressive. Perhaps humanity is more resilient than we anticipated." Sarah stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "Resilience is only the beginning. If you want to test us again, I suggest you find a challenge worthy of us." With that, the humans boarded their shuttle and left Veltraxis 9, their reputation forever changed. They had not only survived but thrived, proving to the galaxy that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. In the end, the test meant to break them had only made them stronger. And Exalvok, watching their ship disappear into the sky, realized one undeniable truth: humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The crowded assembly hall of the Xeravan mothership hummed with tension. Rows of aliens, representing the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, watched the humans as if they were specimens under a microscope. Humanity's delegation had been invited to a diplomatic summit to discuss trade and alliances, but beneath the surface, there was a secret Azarvan agenda that no one had revealed. Captain Elena Carter stood at the center of the hall, her dark hair tied tightly behind her head, her stance calm and commanding. Beside her were two trusted allies, Commander Jack Reynolds, a soldier who always seemed ready for a fight, and Dr. Amara Sink, a brilliant scientist with a knack for reading between the lines. They'd arrived as representatives of Earth, eager to secure alliances and prove humanity's worth on the galactic stage. From a balcony overlooking the gathering, Xeravan Chancellor Zorin observed the humans with cold amusement. His reptilian eyes narrowed as he whispered to his advisor, Fools. They think we invited them to build alliances. Tonight, they will be exposed for the weak, reckless species they are. The Xervons had a plan, a trap hidden beneath layers of diplomacy and pleasantries. Humanity's growing influence in the galaxy had begun to unsettle the Xervons, who saw them as a threat. This summit wasn't a gesture of peace. It was a staged event designed to humiliate the humans and ruin their reputation before the other species. As the humans were seated, Chancellor Zoran raised his clawed hand for silence. "Welcome, delegates," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Today, we gather to forge new paths of cooperation and understanding. But first, a small challenge to ensure we can trust one another." Elena's eyes narrowed slightly. "A challenge?" she asked, keeping her tone neutral. Zoran smiled, his sharp teeth glinting under the lights. "A test of intelligence and resourcefulness, to prove your worth as allies. We have prepared a simulation, a harmless exercise, of course. You and your team will solve a simple puzzle in the presence of the council. Consider it a tradition." Elena glanced at Jack and Amara. The words, harmless and simple, didn't sit well with her. She could sense there was more to this test than Zoran was letting on. The humans were led into a smaller, circular chamber, where a glowing console stood in the center. The walls shimmered with alien technology, and a faint hum filled the air. Dozens of alien representatives crowded into observation booths above, eager to watch the humans struggle. "This simulation," Zoran announced, "will require your combined wits to disarm a series of fail-safes. If you succeed, the galaxy will know humanity is ready for true cooperation. If you fail—" He paused for dramatic effect. "The results will speak for themselves." Elena studied the console. Symbols and patterns unlike anything she had seen before blinked and shifted on the screen. It was a puzzle, but one designed to confuse and mislead. "Jack, keep an eye on the room," she ordered. "Amara, start decoding the patterns." "I'll assist where I can." Amara leaned over the console, her sharp mind already analyzing the symbols. "These symbols are mathematical, but the patterns don't follow a clear sequence. It's deliberately chaotic." Elena nodded. "That's the point. They want us to panic." Jack moved to the edges of the room, scanning for any signs of hidden traps or dangers. "This doesn't feel right," he muttered. "Why go to all this trouble for a simple test?" Above them, Zoran whispered to his advisor. "Activate the interference protocol. Let's see how they handle a little pressure." Suddenly, the lights in the chamber flickered, and the symbols on the console began to change more rapidly. The hum of the room grew louder, almost like a growl. "They're messing with the system," Amara exclaimed. "Stay focused," Elena said firmly. "This is a mind game. They want us to crack under pressure." As Amara worked furiously, Elena began noticing a pattern in the chaos. The Xervons had designed the puzzle to seem random, but there was a logic hidden beneath the surface, something they thought the humans wouldn't catch. "Amara, focus on the fourth sequence. It's a misdirection." "The real key is in the second row," Elena said, her voice steady. Amara's fingers flew across the console as she adjusted her calculations. "Got it? It's starting to align." Jack's voice interrupted. "We've got movement." The walls, before he could finish, sections of the wall began to shift, revealing small, spider-like drones armed with energy emitters. They crawled out silently, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. "It's a trap," Jack growled, pulling his weapon from its holster. "Hold fire," Elena ordered. "They're trying to provoke us into looking violent. Don't give them what they want." The drones surrounded the team but didn't attack. Their presence was meant to intimidate, to break their focus. Amara's voice cut through the tension. "Almost there. Just a little more time." Elena stood her ground, her heart pounding but her face calm. "Ignore the drones. They won't attack unless we show weakness. Amara, finish it." The symbols on the console began to stabilize. With a final press of a button, the chaotic patterns aligned into a coherent sequence. The console let out a soft chime, and the drones retreated into the walls. The chamber fell silent. Above, the council members murmured in disbelief. Zoran's smug expression turned to one of frustration. The humans had succeeded, despite every obstacle he had thrown at them. Elena turned her gaze upward, meeting Zoran's eyes. Is this how you welcome allies, Chancellor? With tricks and traps? Humanity won't forget this. The other delegates watched in silence, some clearly impressed by the humans' resilience. Zoran forced a thin smile. A most impressive performance. Perhaps humanity has more to offer than we anticipated. As the humans left the chamber, Jack shook his head. They were ready to tear us apart if we failed. Elena smiled faintly. But we didn't. And now they know we're not as easy to break as they thought. Back on their ship, the team reviewed the events, knowing the Asarvans wouldn't stop trying to undermine humanity. But for now, they had won this round. And Elena knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had underestimated them, and that was a mistake they would live to regret. The planet Orcs 7 was unlike any other world the human delegation had encountered. A world of dark red skies and deep, winding valleys. It was known for its incredible resources and its savage, unpredictable terrain. The Exavons had invited the humans to visit, but the invitation was more of a challenge than a gesture of friendship. The Exarvons were curious to see if humanity was truly as capable as they claimed. Captain Rachel Hayes stood at the front of the human delegation as their shuttle descended into Orcs 7's dense atmosphere. Beside her were her team, Lieutenant Cole Evans, a sharpshooter with a tactical mind, and Dr. Lila Brooks, a biologist who specialized in alien ecosystems. As they descended into the storm-ravaged planet, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The Exarvons were up to something, but she wasn't sure what. "Stay sharp," Rachel said, her voice steady but filled with quiet tension. "We don't know what we're walking into." The shuttle touched down on the rocky surface of Orcs 7, where the atmosphere was thick with clouds that flickered with unnatural lightning. A shuttle full of Zervon soldiers greeted them, their eyes scanning the humans with a calculating gaze. The Exarvons' tall reptilian forms moved smoothly, like predators surveying their prey. Chancellor Vornak, the leader of the Exarvons, stood before them. His yellow eyes gleamed with a strange satisfaction. "Welcome, humans," he said. "You will be tested today. A demonstration of your strength, intelligence, and resilience. Do not disappoint us." Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. There was no doubt in her mind the Exarvons were testing humanity for something more than just a friendly exchange. "We're ready for whatever you have in mind," she said, keeping her tone cool and composed. Vornak's grin was all teeth. "We will see." He led them through the winding canyons of Orcs 7, a harsh, desolate landscape with jagged cliffs that stretched high into the skies. "Our test will take place in the Forbidden Valley," he announced. A place few have ever survived. The air felt thick with a sense of foreboding. As they trekked deeper into the valley, the ground beneath their feet began to rumble. Suddenly, the earth cracked open, sending tremors through the team. "Get down!" Rachel shouted, pulling Cole and Lila to the ground as a massive creature burst from the earth. It was a towering, insect-like beast with razor-sharp pincers and eyes that glowed with an eerie green light. "What the hell is that?" Cole asked, his hand instinctively going for his blaster. "It's not in the data," Lila whispered, staring at the creature with a mix of awe and fear. "I've never seen anything like it." The creature roared, and before anyone could react, it lunged at them with incredible speed. Its pincers slashed through the air, narrowly missing Rachel's team. "Move," Rachel ordered, pulling out her own weapon and firing a burst at the creature. The energy bolts barely left a mark on its thick, armored exoskeleton. "Nothing's working," Cole yelled, his voice filled with frustration as he fired again. "It's too tough." Lila scrambled behind a rock, scanning the creature. "Wait," she said, her voice trembling. "There's something strange about its anatomy. Its internal structure. It's vulnerable in specific spots, but we need to get closer." Rachel's eyes narrowed. "How close?" Lila swallowed hard. "Too close. But if we don't act now, it'll kill us." Rachel hesitated for a moment. The Exarvons watched from a distance, clearly entertained by the spectacle. This was part of their test, she realized. They wanted the humans to fail, but she wouldn't let them. Cole, get ready to draw its attention, Rachel commanded. Lila, you and I will flank it. Aim for the joints. The plan was risky, but Rachel had no other choice. Cole fired another barrage of energy blasts, getting the creature's attention. It turned toward him, letting out a deafening screech. Now, Rachel! Lila shouted, following her lead as the two women sprinted toward the creature's vulnerable joints. The massive creature swung its pincers at them, but Rachel dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike. She rolled to her feet and fired directly at the exposed joint near its underbelly. A burst of energy struck the creature, and it howled in pain, its body convulsing. Lila followed suit, aiming for the creature's side, where its armor was weakest. Another shot, and the creature staggered, its legs giving way beneath it. With a final roar, the creature collapsed to the ground, twitching violently before it lay still. Panting heavily, Rachel and Lila turned to Cole, who was still recovering from the fight. "We did it," Rachel said, her voice filled with both relief and disbelief. But just as they thought the danger was over, the ground beneath them shook again. From the shadows, a second creature emerged, this one even larger than the first. Its glowing eyes locked onto the humans, and a deep rumble filled the air. "This is it," Rachel said, her voice low but steady. "We're not out of this yet." As the second beast roared, Rachel's mind raced. This was no simple test. It was a trial meant to break them. The Atzervons had planned this carefully, knowing that humanity's greatest strength was their adaptability and resourcefulness. They wanted to see if the humans would give up in the face of overwhelming odds. Rachel looked at her team, determination in her eyes. "We have one shot. Stick together, and we'll bring it down." They stood as one, ready to face the unexpected challenge that awaited them, knowing that the true weapon the Xarvons feared wasn't the creatures or the terrain. It was the unwavering will of humanity. And no matter how many times the odds stacked against them, they would always find a way to win.